Who will these kids become in the future? What will become of them in the future? Is there indeed a future for them? You know, one of the wisest and richest guys that ever lived was King Solomon. And he coined a Hebrew proverb that said, where there is no vision, people perish and they're unrestrained. All that really means is that where there is no hope for the future, people misbehave. So can we blame our kids for misbehaving when we teach them by compulsion rather than by attraction? Can we blame our kids for misbehaving when we impose our standards on them instead of inviting them through by the example that we're living? You know, it was a British philosopher, Bertrand Russell, who said, it is because modern education is so seldom inspired by great hope that it so seldom achieves great results. The wish to preserve the past, he says, rather than the hope of creating a future, dominates the minds of those who are in control of teaching our young. And so many of these kids here get hit with the stun gun of our past, and we tranquilize their potential instead of inspiring them with a dream and a hope for the future. Isabel Eberhardt said that the further I leave the past behind, the closer I am to forging my own character. We need to give these kids a break, don't we? We've got to salute our past, yes, very much so. But then we've got to wave it goodbye. We've got to kiss it goodbye. Our kids are taking their own lives today. And they're reckless because, well, nobody's pulling out a fresh canvas for them to write their own story or to paint their own picture. Diogenes said that the foundation of every state is the education of its youth. I'd like to say that the foundation of every state is the education of its youth and the development of their character. You know, in the face of unrestrained sex and drugs and murder and corruption, is it a morality that is needed? Certain ethics perhaps that will restrain us and keep us in line? Well, I think so, but it's even more than that. Sometimes morality and the consequence can be seen like a list of rules designed to hit us with a big stick just to kill all our fun. You know what I mean? Telling these kids, for instance, to use a condom to prevent infection just keeps them looking down. It's a little further south than navel gazing. They need more than that. What we've got to do is lift their vision higher and get them looking up towards a future that is bright and hopeful. It's a very rare thing for externally imposed standards to be upheld by anybody for any length of time. For most of us who can't toe the line, rules are there to be broken. The most effective form of transformation in any society is from the inside out, not from the outside in. There needs to be an inner core resolve to move us towards a higher way of living. Ethics and morality and integrity, these are different facets of character, and character is the backbone of humanity. Character is the true authority in individuals, in marriages, in families, in communities and nations. Character rules. That's why a young teen, for instance, leading a household as a breadwinner where the parents have been lost to AIDS has great character authority, even though the opportunity for education has been lost to that individual. It's the Cambridge Dictionary that describes character as that quality of being determined and able to deal with difficult situations. You know, character authority doesn't lie in the position that we hold, the title that we carry, the sport that we play, or the money that we earn. In fact, achievement many times is a test of character. Character doesn't lie in the area that we excel in. That's just simply talent. And we've seen so very clearly from those who are meant to be our role models in society in the areas of like sport and politics, movies and music, that the character for many of those guys has exited the building. Drugs, match fixing, corruption, conspiracy, scandal. The indicators are all there to show that, well, you can be top brass in any area of life, but you can have a hole in your soul and you can have cracks in your foundation. Character is the primary influence of our day. And it can belong to a poor man, it can belong to a rich man, to a young man or an old man. Character doesn't play the race card because it's built from substance that is made of the heart and the mind and not from the color of our skin. That's why the great revolutionary Martin Luther King said in his speech, I have a dream. He said this, he said, I have a dream that one day my 4 little children will live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but on the content of their character. Have we given that dream to our kids? Because where there is no dream, our children will drop their pants in a heartbeat, take guns and knives to school, smoke crack and pot, and shoot up sugars, snort coke, train surf, and think that money equals success, and live superficially and selfishly. It was Franklin Roosevelt, the 32nd president of the US, who said, we cannot always build the future for our youth, but we can build our youth for the future. Guys, we've come through to a tattoo parlor right now because I want to explain to you the meaning of this word character and give it to you in what its original sense was. Character originated in classic Greek, and it means to engrave with a mark with a pointed instrument, and thus became metaphorically to mean the defining quality of an individual. It's a bit like tattooing, as you see going down here, making an indelible mark, but not so much on the skin, but rather in the heart of a person. Character is a permanent quality etched into our souls by the stylus of life's challenges. And this meaning was brought through in an historical writing in about AD 62, when a Roman citizen named Paul wrote to his young student Timothy, and he said to him, Timothy, don't let anyone look down on you or think less of you because you're young. Be an example, he said, to all believers in what you teach, in the way that you live, in your love, in your faith, and in your purity, he said. And that word example is like a die that is struck when we create a mold, or an impression that is left from a seal, or as you see here, an indelible mark upon the skin. And Paul was saying to Timothy, Timothy, if you develop character as a young leader, that stuff will stick with you, it'll stay with you, it'll elevate you in life and keep you in the race. And so my question to you today is, what impression are you making on those around you? And what impression is being made on you by the others that you're hanging out with? Because the truth is, we're having our character shaped by the company we keep, and we're tattooing others by the type of people that we are. You know, when we shape our subjects around youth culture, and it's for real, and we talk about relevant things like sticking together or sticking with things or getting out of a sticky situation, then we'll go along to a glue factory, and that visual will reinforce the lesson that we're trying to bring through. If we're talking about how life has programmed us, then we'll hop over to a computer factory and then talk about our hard drives and viruses that can enter us and our memory, what that's filled with, and then not using our laptop, for instance, as a lap dance. If we talk about fruitfulness in our lives, then we'll be off to a plantation to pick up some visuals there that will reinforce that aspect of our lives. And it's the same with things like teamwork. We'll get along to a game in a stadium somewhere and get the visuals down there that'll be nuggety and punchy and bring the lesson home for the kids. If we talk about going the distance and not throwing the towel in life, then we'll be in the boxing ring, getting it on in a boxing match. It just helps reinforce the lesson. If it's about, say, hitting the bullseye in life, then we found ourselves together with champion archers talking about being and living life as straight as an arrow, and then on in all of life's essential and endless lessons, painting pictures of a better tomorrow for invaluable people like our youth who must take us there. And so It's for Real then holds the goal to shape credible people of character beyond the classroom so that our society can stay on track with a solid moral compass. Will you help us take our kids higher? Will you help us give them a vision and inspire them with a dream of the way things could be? If you and I can correct the wrongs of our past by doing the right things here in the present, then we'll give a much brighter future to our nation. This is Martin McCrory. I want to thank you for listening to me.